Hello, my name is Carla. I'm the full-time math teacher at TOPS. I'm here to talk a little bit about procedures and expectations for an online student. So as you know, every teacher uses the first little bit of school to kind of set a precedence and teach procedures and expectations. And if done well, this creates a better environment for the entire year. So how does that look in an online environment? Well, the first thing you got to think about is office hours. So when are you going to socialize or teach or answer questions with your students? So this may be in the form of Zoom, Meets, however you plan to meet with your kids. Okay. With TOPS, we have office hours during the day, and my kids can meet with me on Google Hangouts during those office hours. So the first few weeks, I have to train my kids that even though we tell them these are my office hours, each week I still get kids trying to connect with me on Google Hangouts at 9 o'clock at night, or I've even had kids at 2 a.m. message me that they needed help in their classes. So one of the things I work really hard on the first few weeks of school is teaching the kids how to respect teachers' office hours, because students want to work all during the day and night. And even though teachers do a lot of that, if you train them when your office hours are, then that's helpful down the road. So even though you may grade papers or work on modules or do other things in the evening, you need to train your students that these are my office hours, and if you need immediate help, contact me during those hours. All right, and I always make sure that my students know that if they can't contact me at 9 o'clock at night, they can still email me, and I'll get back to them the next day. So just make sure that you let them know that you're available, just not 24 hours a day. All right, other procedures and expectations. One thing with online students we work on is uploading documents. So early on, it'll take a little bit of time for kids to learn how to upload documents. And we always encourage our students at TOPS to do that as a single document. So if they have a 3-page document or a 3-page assignment, we want them to submit that as a single document. This is a good habit for them, and it really will help you as far as time-wise grading, having to open less documents. Another thing is when they ask questions, if that question can be answered by something in the syllabus, I always say, look in the syllabus. Make them, they should read the syllabus. They need to know what's in there. That's for their benefit. But if it's something that they want to know and they haven't looked at the syllabus first, I'll refer them to the syllabus. And if they come back and say they can't find it, I'll kind of give them a little bit more direction where it's at in the syllabus. And if they still can't find it, I'll copy it and paste it and show them that it was in the syllabus. But anyways, teach them to look for things and be able to work on their own some. Okay? If they want to know how to do something, they'll go to YouTube and look it up right away. So we know they know how to search things. So make them do that in your class as well. You need to train your students that they have to work every day. Even if they're working at home, it's still a good idea to work each day. So this creates a good habit. It spreads out their work, and it helps reduce stress and anxiety. Our students only have one due date at the end of the week, but our students that wait are less likely to make good grades because they rush through it. They're less likely to retain it because they rush through it, and they're more stressed and they get frustrated because you don't want to help them at 8 o'clock on Friday night, those kind of things. So teach them to work early and start early in the week. I'm not sure if you guys are going to have daily assignments, weekly assignments. I'm not sure how it's going to work, but, just good habits for the kids to know. Also, we have to really reinforce about asking questions. So if you're in a classroom and you walk around and your student's just sitting there and they're not doing anything, then you're going to probably say, are you stuck? Do you need help? But if it's online, you're not going to see them sitting there staring at it. You're just going to assume that they're not working. So you have to reinforce to the students that when they need help, you don't know they need help unless they ask for help. You don't know they need help until they submit something wrong, and then you give them feedback, but that's not what you want them to do. You want them to be willing to come to you and ask questions and get help when they need it and feel comfortable doing that, and that takes some time as well. So these are new students. You're going to have to build that relationship, and it does take a little longer online than it does in person. But if you really work at it, those relationships will get strong as well. And then the kids will message you all the time, and you'll be glad that you did. All right. If a student needs help with an assignment, I said I teach math. I'm not going to just give them the answer. Like in the classroom, if I'm looking at their paper and I look and I'm like, okay, go back to this step right here. Go back to line 3. This is where you messed up. And then I kind of guide them on where they went wrong. Well, you got to do that online as well. And that's going to be very time consuming, and it's much harder. And if you train them the first few weeks to do this correctly, it is exhausting and it's time consuming, but it will create those good habits that will help you the rest of the year. So the first thing I do when a student says that they need help, and again, I can thank Scott Lamy and Lindsay and everybody who has really helped me put these habits in place, and I really have seen them work for myself. So the first thing, if a student says I need help, the first thing I do is say, have you taken notes? Have you watched the video and taken notes? If they say yes, I'm like, okay, well, have you submitted them? I'm going to look at them. So then if they're asking a question and there's something like it in the notes, I can refer them to, well, look at example 2 in your notes. This question is like that example, and kind of lead them to that and make them use the resources they have to see that we are helping them, but don't just give them the answer. Okay. If that's not beneficial, then you can say, well, send me what you've done so far. And when you look at their work, what they've done so far, just like in the classroom, you can find where they went wrong. And then you can give them feedback and say, okay, go back to step 3. And this is where we're going to start. Now, use distributive property or do this or do that, whatever you need to do to get them on track. But don't just show them how to do that. And if all of that doesn't work, and they still just can't figure it out, and then I would get another question that is similar to the question they had and kind of work through it and show them how to do one similar to the one they've got, and then still make them do the one they have on their own. So again, this is very time consuming, but what it will do is first it's going to let you see where they're struggling, and it's going to make them do more for themselves. So in the future, they're still going to ask you for help, but they're not going to ask you for help until they've taken notes and until they've tried it on their own, because they know that you're going to ask that first thing. All of my students know as soon as they ask for help, let me see your notes. All right, let me see what you've done. And then when I do that, like, it just creates a good habit for them, making sure that they're at least attempting to do it before they just ask for help. And also another good habit for the students is make sure that they're checking their messages in Canvas on a regular basis. Sometimes, I make a mistake and I'm like, okay, on question 4, just omit that one. I'll just send out a brief message to the whole class. And if they don't check that, then I keep getting emails saying, oh, something's wrong with question 4. And I'm like, well, I sent you a message. Did you read it? And again, the first few weeks, train them by sending out a message every other day or once a week or something. Train them to be looking for messages from you And again, that just creates a good habit. And when you need to contact them as a class, you can do that through the message board in Canvas. So again, this is just a few tips on how to train your students to be good online students, and hopefully this will help you get off to a great year. Remember, you're going to be a little overwhelmed and stressed the first few weeks. Your students are a little overwhelmed and stressed the first few weeks as well. So just try to be patient and understanding. Realize that once you get through these first few weeks, once you get the training behind you, once you teach them what the expectations are and how to do the procedures and everything that you expect them, then you can actually just get to teaching your content area. So I hope everyone has a great year.